me go back. I'm just gonna say, one of the producers
According
said,
to production.
according to production, Nigerians made weddings what they were.
What they are today and why they're expensive because of YouTube, and because Indians have always been doing expensive weddings, but they didn't put it on YouTube. Nigerians found a way to get it on YouTube and show all the smoke and all the cars coming into the buildings and all that stuff.
Welcome back to another episode of the Planner Suite, where this week we are talking about traditional weddings. And this week I'm going to take a back seat and I'm going to let Amy kind of lead this conversation.
So, Whitney, don't take a back seat because Whitney has worked a lot of traditional weddings. So I can't say that.
But working them and actually having the background and being in that culture is different.
Okay, so I'm going to put a full disclaimer out here. So I was born in the States. Both of my parents are from Ghana. I am 100% Ghanaian. The reason why I am saying this is because I always get this. Oh, you're from Ghana? You're Ghanaian? Oh, I see it. I can see it. I can kind of see it. And the only reason why I'm saying this now is because I'm bringing up this topic because I had a traditional wedding. And I feel like traditional weddings, first of all, Nigeria and Ghana have paved the way for a lot of the over-the-top weddings in the U.S. right now. I'm going to say it again. Nigeria, and Ghana have paved the way for a lot of the weddings. These weddings that you see on Instagram is because of them.
Amy said put some respect on their name.
No, seriously. Absolutely. I mean, a lot of inspiration comes from Australia, California, but honestly, the West African weddings have really paved the way. We are really taking it over the top with the decor and the dresses. Oh my
the
gosh.
dresses.
The seamstresses in those countries are really killing the details of these dresses. So, and the bridal robes.
Oh yeah, that definitely came from y'all.
The bridal suites, the bridal robes. So we're just going to talk about a few topics today. Maybe we can get an expert up here of someone who does more traditional weddings from us. But I feel like there's a lot of things. I had a traditional wedding.
I worked it.
The wedding, we don't like to talk about it. So I feel like the wedding was for my parents. I truly do feel that way. I feel like the traditional wedding is kind of for the parents because the little girl in me still wanted to have the white dress and everything in the white wedding. So what we did is we had two, which is absolutely crazy. I do not recommend. It's a lot of money. We had two weddings and there was no like, okay, let's like cut back or let's do like a little bit. Like it was like, no, 100% all in, 100% for both. Till this day, I asked my husband, hey, do we want to find out how much we spent on the wedding? No, we're not finding out. We don't want to know. But I will say that there's a lot of things I think you should talk about with just traditional weddings in general. I think the first thing is one person being of the culture, right? Or another tradition, and the other person just being American, you know?
Because that's your situation.
Yeah.
So like, how was it merging the two?
Well, Nathan has some spice. So like he is not like the like regular, you know, person. He was completely into it and he completely loved it. But I think explaining what that means to your significant other is really important and what to expect.
Yeah. So I think you had it easy because Nathan was interested and he wanted to learn more. But do you have any suggestions for, like, I guess if the other significant other just doesn't understand the importance, like they're like, we don't have to do all this. We don't have to have this. Let's cut back on the drums, you know?
So it's funny because when we first got engaged, what we did is we watched a Nigerian movie called The Wedding Party? Yeah, The Wedding Party. And it would kind of like explain like, okay, the dowry and, you know, you have to bring the gifts to the other family and things like that. Like this is the bride's price. Like you need to bring my dad 6 goats in order to marry his daughter, you know? And it's a thing. And it's not just like you're bringing the gifts to my dad. You're bringing it to all my mom's 7 brothers. All the uncles get something and et cetera. So we started with that of kind of like a small understanding. And Nathan was into it. Like he wanted to know. But my dad was very traditional. He was like, no, there's a dowry. Like, I don't care where you're from. Like, you're going to bring us this dowry. And it was simple. It wasn't like my dad was asking for thousands of dollars. He was asking for like 3 bottles of like gin to give to each of his brothers, like things like that. But I think that it's an important, just in general, when you're having a wedding, like sitting down and figuring out what is important to you is really, really important. And even though I'm born in America, and I feel like a lot of people can resonate with this as well, like you still want to give back that traditional piece. Like in my mind, in my heart, I was like, ooh, my kente is, in my lace, ooh, it's gonna bust down. Like it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
It's almost like your gift back to your parents. Like
yeah. And I feel like for my mom, it was like my mom's wedding too. Like
she was smiling the whole day. Like she was so happy.
Like she needed all of those things. And my dad was like, no, we need to have these drummers and we have to do like pouring the libations and things like that. Like that's the official start. And in our culture, it's like pouring the libations for our village, but for the Nigerian culture, it's breaking of the kola nut. Like you can't not break the kola nut. If you don't have the kola nut, then you don't have the overall umbrella of like the blessing to even have the marriage. And there's one wedding we did, and they forgot the kola nut. And there's a lot of things wedding planners can do in America. But one thing I cannot do is find a kola nut. So I couldn't get that on Amazon. I could not get that at Target.
We couldn't do a one-day delivery.
They still got married. They still got married. I know they do the wine ceremony in the Nigerian culture where, you know, they have the wine, the bride has to drink the wine and et cetera. But with that being said, I think it's really important to sit down and talk about what is important to you and et cetera. And in some situations, you're gonna be able to come to a middle ground. In some situations, it's like you're not. We're having this traditional ceremony no matter what. And with that being said, I think it comes to the next topic is having a white wedding and a traditional wedding in one day. And I'm going to take a moment of silence. Because there's a lot of things that you are trying to do in that one day.
And it's interesting because you see it a lot on social media. And every time I see it, I'm like, how did they do that? Because yours were different months, and it was still like a lot. Because you know how when you finish a wedding, you kind of decompress? We didn't get that. It was like, nah, let's jump into traditional planning and like, white wedding planning. And
I think that because we got married in 2022, we were still tripping. We were still crazy. Like we were really still crazy to do 2 weddings. But I think that the cost of weddings then were like a little bit better. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. It wasn't like I was spending under $100,000. We were still spending 6+ figures, right? But I do think if you could do it in 2 days, 2 months, great. Yeah. Absolutely do it. Now, in one day, I think there's some tips and things that you should have because I see a lot of our couples who do it in one day book a venue where it's like they're used to white weddings. So they only have 5 hours where I'm seeing couples fighting in their timeline just to make room to have their traditional. So it's almost rushed. So a tip that I can give for someone who's trying to have a white wedding and a traditional wedding in the same day is to get a venue that does not have any time constraints. So you could start your ceremony at 2:00. But, you know, you guys can go till 12 a.m. or 1 o'clock in the morning. Because one thing I know about my people is we show up when we want to show up, okay? And you don't want to be, like, constrained, like, have those time constraints, right? And then I guess the cherry on top of everything would be where you can bring your own caterer so you can bring in the cultural food as well. But that's not always perfect, right? So asking the venue to, like, maybe allow you to bring 1 or 2 dishes, but then still be able to pay for their catering staff and services on site.
And then it's also a lot in when you do it in one day too, because you got change of clothes, you have the traditions that you do. You just got to make sure you have time for everything. You don't want to cut corners. So.
Yeah. And it's always good to have a planner who has some experience in it too. Like I will say this, like one thing I know for sure is Melissa on our team is going to get you in that corset dress. Like she is going to get you in. And it's been to the point where sometimes people are like, oh, I don't know if the dress fits. Like it'll be like an American bride and then like a West African groom, and they'll be like, oh, my dress doesn't work. No, you're just not getting in the dress right. You know,
like, so suck it in.
Right. So getting a planner who knows, who can get you into those things, finding an auntie who knows how to do the headpieces and tie the headpieces for you, considering your hairstyle, even with headpieces as well. And then also having someone, if you guys spray money, and I feel like this is what West African weddings are very, very popular for, which is spraying money. The ones you see, they're spraying money, making sure you have someone to collect that money, count the money, and redistribute the money, and also come to the table with money. Yeah. Like, make sure you have $1,000 in one, so people who are not West African, who don't know and see, you know, they're like, oh, I want to go do that. They can go ahead and Cash App you or Apple Pay you and then get some ones. Because we had a wedding once and the man went up to the table. He was like, oh, you're giving money for us to throw? And we're like, no, like, you have to bring your money, you know, to
we
you
can
know,
give
to
you
spray.
change, and that's kind of it. Yeah.
Yeah, to spray. And then also, like, putting it on your website so people know what's
in
to
advance.
come.
Yeah.
Right? Putting a cultural tab on your website so you know what's to come.
Right.
Okay. So our producers actually just corrected me and said that Nigerians actually made weddings what they are today. So I will take, Ghana will take a seat. We will take a seat with this one. But with the jollof, we win. We win with the jollof, okay? But he said that Nigerians actually found a way to put weddings on YouTube, and that's kind of how it evolved, and people were able to see them, and that's why the weddings are very expensive right now. So yeah. But yeah, comment in the comment below and just let us know who has the best jollof, because I want to know.
How do we get from weddings to jollof?
It's actually a really big deal. I know this is a
serious thing.
Yeah.
I know this is a serious thing. So just thinking about what you were saying about white weddings and traditional weddings, what if people opt to do a big white wedding and not go as hard or not go as big for traditional weddings? Is that...
Yeah, I mean, that's what it used to be.
Or is that a bit disrespectful? Oh, that's what it used to be?
No, that's what it used to be. Like, okay. Traditionals used to be... So the funny thing is, like, you know, the bride's price, right? Mm-hmm. Originally what it was, at least in the Ghanaian culture, like, Nathan, before he even put a ring on my finger, mm-hmm. was supposed to go to my dad and say, hey, I want to marry your daughter. Okay, mm-hmm. This is the bride's price. He goes and gets all the things, which a ring is on that list. Oh. And then he brings it the day of, we're all dressed up, and he brings the dowry to the house. And that is the traditional.
The total.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it used to be a small thing. It used to
just
be
at the house, like a dinner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no. Oh. You know, we culturally...
Break it down for me.
Culturally, not like a dinner, but like everything is not over the top, but like a dinner with people from West Africa could be like 50, 60 people. Like, I would say this, it's still a party, but it would be in your backyard or your basement or in your house. And it would still be a really big thing. And you would have a backdrop and things like that, and chairs, maybe throne chairs or something. But it's still a big thing. But now it's something that's completely over the top. Yeah. Like, people are doing like a really big traditional, and then they're also doing a really big white wedding. Yeah. So yeah, I mean... it hasn't always been this way.
Mm-hmm. So I guess, like, millennials, you know, what if they don't know the tradition? Like, what should they do to make sure that they're not missing the mark with anything?
Ask. Like, there are some things that I didn't really know. I didn't know everything. Like, and don't get me wrong, I've been to traditional weddings before, but I didn't know anything. I talked with my parents about it, and I understood. I was the first person to get married on my side. So for them, they were very much like involved with it, and they wanted every single thing to happen, you know, the correct way. But ask. And then I'm just going to pivot this a little bit for our wedding planners. Like, ask the couple, like ask him what's important. And one thing I always now do with traditional weddings is I always have a meeting with the parents.
I was going to ask, should we be pulling the parents in because they have that background and they know?
Absolutely. I'm just going to tell a story. We did I want to say she was from Sierra Leone. We did a wedding from Sierra Leone. It was beautiful. I mean, the space was beautiful. They had done their traditional small scale at home, right? And then she did her white wedding. And literally, they're doing their entrances into the room. I don't know if you remember this, Whitney. And her mom stopped her daughter from coming into the room and asked for a glass of water.
Oh, yes, I do remember this.
Because in their tradition, you're supposed to give your daughter a glass of water before she enters the room as a wife. Baby, that DJ, MC was so mad at us. We were shuffling as a planning staff. If we knew we needed a glass of water,
it would have been there waiting.
It would have been there waiting. But because we never talked to the parents and we didn't know the culture like we know the Nigerian and the Ghanaian culture, we were running to the back of the caterer's kitchen. Someone give me a glass of water. I need a glass of water right now.
Right.
And guess what happened? The DJ and MC had to run it back. Everyone went right back outside, and we had to come back in. So wedding planners, I will say this. I mean, I know there's some expert wedding planners in traditional weddings. Don't get me wrong. But we do a lot of traditional weddings, and I'm not an expert in every single culture. Have a meeting. Now I do the itinerary, and I have a meeting before with the parents, so I know what the traditions are that they want.
Right.
And then after the itinerary is made just with the couple, I bring the parents back in so they can see what the couple has decided on.
Yeah.
And then if something is not correct or some tradition is not like actually captured, we go ahead and we add it back in.
That's good. That's good. Making sure you're not missing anything.
Because sometimes the parents come on and they're like, no, this is not right. The kola nut has to go first. We have not blessed the ceremony. Someone needs to pray on the ground. And it's serious.
Yeah.
It's really serious for them. And if you don't do that, what happens is one thing my people are going to do is do it anyway. They're going to do it anyway. They're going to do it anyway. They will make sure of it and they will stress me out the day and all the planners out on the day of the wedding. So I think that's really important. If you're a wedding planner and you're just getting into the traditional, I mean, not even the traditional. If you're doing the white and you're capturing a piece of the traditional wedding in the reception, I think that's really important that you do that.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned the food a little bit and you got into the jollof debate, but I know that traditional food, whether, you know, whatever nationality it is different from American food. So I want to hear about that, like how to pick food, how do you find the caterer, what should you be doing?
I giggle about how to find the caterer because it's hard. Finding caterers for traditional foods is just really hard because a lot of these venues, you need to have a licensed caterer that has 1 or 2 million in insurance. And it's like, they're still cooking, but they don't have these things. You know, the person that you may want to do the jollof or you may want to do your favorite
food,
stew is maybe not licensed, you know.
It's like, dang, I can't have earrings at my
wedding. or insured, right?
Yeah.
Some things is I will say that there are some good caterers out there that you could do. My biggest thing is making sure that at the end of the day, you can have all of those cultural traditional foods, but is making sure that you have a full service caterer. And I say this selfishly as a planner. I need someone who's going to come serve the food, bust the tables, set up the food, come with chauffeurs and all of the things.
Serving
tools, all the things. If you want to bring your jollof in a cooler, that is fine, but I don't want to see it. Like,
don't let your guests see it.
Right. Yeah. That is a thing. Like it is
Have
a
it
thing.
Set up
and I like jollof from the cooler, so I'm not being shady. It is still very good, but I think it has to be a full service caterer. Those are things that make your wedding stand apart is food service. Like traditional or not, I mean, what's top 3? It's what is typically music, food, bar, you know, those are typically nowadays decor is hitting, you know, above, but all I'm saying is that if the food thing, it is hard, but making sure you try and find a licensed caterer that can do all of the different things.
Right.
And that's a lot of reasons why people have their traditionals at home or, you know, in their basements, backyards, because your favorite person can make their pepper soup or all of the things and bring it, and you don't have to worry about those restraints. But I will say, just hire a professional wedding planner. If there's someone you really want to work with, they can give you ways, not saying necessarily to work around it, but they can give you ways that you can make it work.
Right.
Okay.
And I think a lot of times now, you know, you mentioned like having family members cook the food. That can be a thing, but then hire a serving staff.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Whitney. And we don't even have this issue with just traditional weddings. We have this issue with just regular American weddings or other weddings, and they have serving staff that come in and they will set up and serve food that they have not cooked, and they'll bust the tables and it'll be very professional, but they had nothing to do with their food. And I mean, I will say there are some venues out there that they allow that, but there's some venues out there that do not.
Right.
So, and that's important about having just a wedding planner in general, especially if you're going traditional or white wedding, so they could do that research for you.
Right. So I know we mainly talked about Amy's culture, but maybe you had a traditional wedding from a different culture. We want to hear about some of the traditions you had at your wedding. We want to see pictures. We want you to DM us pictures. We want you to email us pictures, and we may even feature you on our story. But we always want to hear from you. And as always, meet us right back here at the Planner Suite.
Bye.